Christopher Nolan has always been my favourite director. This probably has something to do with him being one of the first auteurs that I encountered. As I watched his films, I found that the more I watched, the deeper I fell in love with filmmaking as a whole. The same is true today. I sometimes hear the complaint that his films are too clinical and emotionless.
And go easy on the poor chap, he does try so very hard.
I find this to be quite frankly offensive when his films leave me with tears in my eyes, snot protruding from my nostrils and sweat upon my brow. They affect me that deeply. But why? I've always put it down to the fact that if Hitchcock is the master of suspense, then Nolan is the master of tension. Hitch can put Jimmy Stewart in a cast with a zoom lens and point your attention across the courtyard and you'll curse every second that keeps you from the truth. What Nolan does is a step beyond and perhaps a modernization of this. It's more akin to sleight of hand than a cinematic device. I will refer to this technique as the layered structure. I will use this technique as an in to investigate Nolan's style and why he is one of the most emotional filmmakers working today.
And here we go.
Nolan is known for using non-linear narratives, but also for his belief in and love of the three-act structure, or as it's referred to in The Prestige, Nolan's statement on the filmmaking process.
The pledge, the term, the prestige.
Dunkirk is a film built almost entirely around the three-act structure, utilising to its optimum the layered technique. It cuts between three different locations and the trials the characters face in these locations: the beach, sea and air. This technique also gives Nolan the opportunity to experiment with time and his obsession with non-linear storytelling, as these stories take place over a week, day and hour in the different locations, meaning that they converge at the end of the film in spectacular fashion. As with many of Nolan's more complex narratives, this rewards the audience for their attention, but as is common with Nolan, it isn't just about spectacle. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty of the layered technique with the layers of the dream in Inception. Nolan often uses the layered technique to craft sequences and sometimes whole narratives, as with Dunkirk and Inception. He will show you someone in a perilous situation, you'll be terrified for them and beg to see them freed up until the point where you feel you're going to explode, and then he'll cut to something else happening elsewhere. Then, in this new location, the tension will be built to excruciating levels until yet again we cut to another location with further characters in peril, meaning that much like the shepherd tone Hans Zimmer employs in Dunkirk, the tension seems to never release. It just builds and builds and builds. This makes the tension palpable, and the release when it eventually arrives that bit more impactful. The Joker's escape from the Dark Knight. There are three distinct sections in this setup. The Joker in the Major Crimes Unit, Harvey and Rachel rigged to blow, and Batman and the newly appointed Commissioner Gordon trying to save them. The tension builds in the aforementioned fashion as the Joker puts his plan into action and the heroes get ever closer to saving what they love. However, in a shocking twist, this second act doesn't end in victory, but failure. Nolan is able to use non-linear storytelling and a layered technique, which are arguably his signatures, to elevate the themes of a story. I personally believe that one of Nolan's most prevalent and least talked about themes is that the true nature of heroism is sacrifice. Notice that all those who go above and beyond the call of duty to save their fellow man in Dunkirk lose something, while the cowards survive. It is shown in Inception, a sci-fi heist actioner whose main theme is grief, when Cobb has to let the memory of the woman he loves die in order for the rest of his team to survive. And finally, when Batman tarnishes his reputation in order to cover up Dent's crimes and becomes the Dark Knight. Nolan's techniques and style elevate the themes which reinforce the narrative, which is what eventually creates the emotion within the audience. Take Inception, where the layered technique is used to expose the themes of grief and loss, which takes the storytelling to a climax wherein we see a man reconcile with his dead father and realize that what he did in life was because he loved him. Nolan has a rock-solid method for eliciting emotion from an audience, which is why his films are so special to me. When I boil it down long and hard, what makes me come back to Nolan's films is the emotion they create within me, which is why I do what I do, so that maybe one day I can have an impact on someone in the way Christopher Nolan has impacted upon me. So, if the Prestige is Nolan's statement on the filmmaking process, what is he saying? He's saying that rather than a quest for truth, film is a quest for enlightenment, the kindest magic trick, as we know it's not real, but we want to believe, so we can know the enlightenment that comes from this. We want to be.